Everyone, I appreciate you all waking up this early to watch the Elimination Chamber.
Wait, what? I thought we were here to watch WrestleMania.
No, Queen Diva Marie, that isn't April.
Well, either way, I am excited to watch some wrestling. But, where is Mayor Aaron?
To absolutely no one's surprise, he's probably still asleep.
Oh, there he is.
Oh no, he's sleepwalking again.
Yeah.
Alright, I'm gonna wake him up, preferably by smashing him over the head. No, you never should wake a sleepwalking individual. It could be traumatic.
I wonder what he's dreaming about in that pretty little mind.
I'm sorry. I promise, Rhonda. I promise. I'll do your figure history. I'm sorry it took so long. Ow. Shoulder. Ow.
If I had to guess, he's dreaming about Dakota Kai again.
Don't need shoulder. Legs.
Oh dear, I'm afraid you might be right.
Hey y'all, welcome to LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. Now before we get started, make sure to hit subscribe and become an official resident of LJV today and get a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews. Now it has been a while since I've gotten a new women's wrestling figure to review. We had quite the incoming of figures in January, but there's a little bit of a break now, so I figured I would do a video I've wanted to do for a while, at least since Ronda left WWE, and that's a complete figure history covering every single figure of hers released by Mattel and WWE. Now, I did do a Ronda Rousey figure history video within the first year of the channel. It was actually maybe one of my first 10 videos, and since then, she's had a lot of figures come out. So I wanted to do a brand new figure history of hers and really show off every single one of her figures in order, tell you what the attire's from, and then give you an up-close look. So I know Ronda's kind of a controversial topic amongst wrestling fans. Either you love her or you hate her. Me personally, I love her. I love the attention that she brought to the women's division in WWE. And I thought that her character was so unique and there was really no one like her. So I really do hope she comes back in the future. But for now, this is all of her figures. So let's take a closer look. Ronda's first in the line figure with Basic Series 90. This attire is from the 2018 Royal Rumble, which took place on January 28th. On this night, after Asuka would win the historic first ever Women's Royal Rumble, Ronda would make her presence known to the WWE Universe and come to the ring, pointing to the WrestleMania sign. Alright, so Ronda's first in the line figure is a very unique one, we'll say that. Now it's important to note that they got this figure out pretty quickly after her first appearance in WWE, which is pretty good. It was a pretty quick turnaround. Now that being said, you can kind of tell that because there's not a whole lot of unique detail in the body sculpt and even the attire. This is her first face sculpt and scan, obviously, and I think it works just fine here. Looking at it, she's got kind of a little bit of a smile. Now, they do perfect the sculpt and scan in the future to make it really look good, but here, it's okay. I think the hair sculpt is okay. I like the color, how it's like a brownish, dirty blonde type color, very similar to hers. Now, the body sculpt is where this kind of falls flat, and you can tell that they kind of rushed this figure out because it's just kind of a mishmash here. So we have this kind of generic upper body here with her Hot Ronda t-shirt just painted on, the same one I'm wearing. And that's cool that we got this t-shirt, but it kind of sucks that it is just painted straight on. You can even see the dimpled belly button, the Victoria's Secret body paint, if you will. So it doesn't look very good, to be honest. The sleeves are just painted on the arm. And then the bottoms are these black pants that have, kind of a windbreaker type appearance. And then we do have some sneakers down there. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I can't complain because they did get this figure out pretty quickly after she made her debut in WWE. And also, it's very unique compared to all her other figures, as you'll see next. Basic Series 101, released in 2019. This attire is from the 2018 Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, which took place on September 16. On this night, Ronda would defeat Alexa Bliss, retaining her Raw Women's Championship. Alright, so this was the first, almost true Ronda Rousey, if you will. At least the first Ronda Rousey we got in her wrestling attire. And I think they did a pretty good job here. Now, what really stands out to me is not only the new face sculpt and scan and hair sculpt, but the body sculpt is more detailed to her and matches her muscular physique a lot better than her first-in-line basic. Now, looking at the face here, we have a more serious expression, if you will. Definitely a more aggressive sculpt and scan of the face, and it looks pretty good. The hair sculpt is also really good. We have her signature ponytail with a little braid on the sides that also goes into the ponytail. Her signature gloves are painted on for the first time, and they're painted on pretty cleanly. They look really good. And the attire is just painted on. But as I mentioned, this body sculpt is new for her, and it really does stand out as being accurate. The top is just painted in a black with a really shiny gold rowdy on the front. Straps are painted on around the backside there. The bottoms are just black with gold accents. And then we have her signature short boots. So, yeah, this figure, it was definitely an upgrade from her first in line. But as you'll see, we get better ones as we go. Elite Series 65, released in 2019. This attire is from the 2018 Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, which took place on February 25th. On this night, Ronda would sign her Raw contract and famously put Triple H through a table. Alright, I'm going to be honest, I am smiling ear to ear. Now that I have this figure in front of me, all these memories are just rushing back. You see, this was one of my first women's wrestling figures that I added to my collection. This was years before I started LumberJillville. And this was at the time where I started buying women's wrestling figures for my daughter, and then I started to collect them, and this was definitely one of my first 5, I want to say. And yeah, that just makes this figure super special to me. Now, that being said, this figure itself is really, really cool. It really does stand out and pop, and it's so unique. Now, I'm not here to review the accessories, but this figure does come with a unique setup. It comes with a breakable table with a red tablecloth, a contract, and a pin, so I think that's really cool. Now, starting off with the face sculpt and scan, it looks a lot like her first-in-line figure, but it is much improved. So her first-in-line figure, if you compare them side by side, you can see the sculpt is kind of similar, but the scan is definitely upgraded here. It looks way better. The hair sculpt looks to be the same, but it works just fine. But yeah, so as I mentioned, this first-in-line figure was kind of rushed out, and you could really tell that when you compare this one to all her future figures. So yeah, they really did almost perfect her sculpt and scan, in my opinion. I love the beautiful smiling Ronda sculpt and scan with the hair over her shoulder. I think it looks great. And this attire looks B.A. badass, in my opinion. Now, what's really unique about it is she's in her leather jacket, which I actually believe was previously owned by Rowdy Roddy Piper, and that's what she wore kind of as a tribute to him, along with her logo, obviously. But I think technically this jacket, I could be wrong, but I think technically this jacket is Rowdy Roddy Piper's. But it does have unique sculpted details that show that it is the jacket that she did wear, and the sculpting details are pretty tremendous here, not only in design patterns, but even like little zippers sculpted on and painted gold. And I do like that this jacket's not removable, so that we have extra articulation in the arms. These arms are fully articulated. Now, that being said, we can't have a look of this figure with the jacket off, because all you can do is take this part off, which is kind of like a vest. But I think the overall display it gives with these sleeve movable arms along with this vest, I think it looks great, honestly. Now, as far as the shirt underneath, we got that Victoria's Secret body paint painted over midsection belly button there, and that's that sucks, but I'll let it slide because she is wearing this jacket. It's not super noticeable with the black paint. We have the Rowdy logo underneath, Ronda Rousey, very cool. We have these black tight pants, which I believe are uniquely sculpted for her, which look awesome. And then she's in sneakers, it appears. So, yeah, I think this figure really does stand out. And as I mentioned, I knew this was one of my first figures, but I haven't had it in front of me, focusing all my attention in a long time. And this figure is just full of nostalgia for me. I absolutely love this. Ultimate Edition Series 1, released in 2019. This attire is from WrestleMania 34, which took place on April 8th, 2018. On this night, Ronda Rousey made her in-ring debut in WWE, teaming up with Kurt Angle and defeating the team of Stephanie McMahon and Triple H. Alright, so this is the first line of Ultimate Editions. Now, this figure was released with the Ultimate Warrior, and this figure is actually very hard to come by now. It's getting very expensive on eBay, honestly. Hopefully it gets re-released in the best of Ultimate Edition figures in the future, but I don't know if it will because she's no longer with WWE. But either way, I have two in front of me because there's a lot of different looks you can give this figure. So it is important to note that it comes with multiple heads. This is just showing two of the heads that it comes with. And these are kind of the two looks that I go for in my collection here. So she has removable arms with this figure, which allows her to have these jacket arms that we did see in that previous Elite. And then this piece here, which is a vest, but it does give the appearance of a leather jacket. Now, what I noticed about this leather vest or jacket piece is it tends to rub the paint off on the top. On both sides, it rubbed that top paint off. So if you have this figure on display, I suggest giving a little peek just to see, or not taking this part at all, because, yeah, it tends to ruin that top. And she also, for the first time, comes with her kilt, which is removable. Now, this is an Ultimate Edition figure, and really the only added articulation that we have is this stupid drop foot toe joint that I can't stand. There's really no purpose to it. I know people say, oh, it gives extra posing articulation, but this joint is so weak, it's worthless in my opinion. I cannot stand it. Now, when you take this kilt off, you take the jacket off, you switch out the arms and the head, then we have Ultimate Edition ring gear Ronda Rousey. Now, I picked this second one up because the top was so messed up on this one from wearing this jacket that I had to display her with a clean top there in her ring attire, and it looks really cool. Now here we have the top that is uniquely sculpted on. We have a unique body sculpt, which looks great, really gives her muscular physique. We actually have some sculpting going on in her gloves for the first time. You can feel it going across the hands, kind of feel like piano strings or so. And even the cuffs of the gloves have a little stitching. Her bottoms are just a plain black. And then we have her boots, once again. The lower body stays the same between the two different looks. So the Ultimate Edition figure, I mean, especially for being the first line of Ultimate Edition figures, quite frankly, I think they knocked it out of the park now. They've had a lot of awesome Ultimate Edition figures. They've had a couple bad ones, including that Becky Lynch, but this one I thought was super, super awesome, and it's cool that you can literally switch out parts and display her in different attires. I think that's awesome. So yeah, this figure is great. The only thing that I wish it had butterfly joints, which we just got that with the Ultimate Edition Asuka. We haven't got that with any other women's Ultimate Edition figures in the past, but still, that would have been nice to have a Ronda with butterfly joints. Basic Series 105, released in 2020. This attire is from WrestleMania 35, which took place on April 7th, 2019. On this historic first ever women's WrestleMania main event, Becky Lynch would defeat Raw Women's Champion Ronda and SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte to become the new SmackDown and Raw Women's Champion. Alright, so this basic is a pretty solid basic. You know, it's very similar to 101, but it is in very different attire here. And it's very important attire, honestly. And that's what's really cool, is it's from WrestleMania 35. So pretty special here. We have that kind of aggressive face sculpt and scan here, which looks really good. We saw that in her basic 101 figure. And this body sculpt is once again that same body sculpt in that basic 101, and it works really, really well. The top is painted on very intricately. Not a whole lot of sculpting, just a little bit between the chest. This time it's a white top with red trim and rowdy and yellow that fades down into a red. Her signature gloves are painted on, and her bottoms are black. We have Rousey on the side with some Japanese lettering, and on the other side we have some claw marks. And what's really cool, so little but I love it, are her unique boots with the white and the red. I just think that really stands out and is really cool. Basic Series 105 Chase version, released in 2020. This attire is from the December 24th, 2018 edition of Raw. On this night, Raw Women's Champion Ronda would defeat Natalya. Alright, so I low-key really love this chase. You know, I know as far as the body sculpt and the overall look of the figure, it's very similar to the regular version, and also that Series 101 basic, but I love the different colors here. I love the black top with the rowdy and like a darker type red with a white outline that really pops. I love the red bottoms with the black lettering and the white outline. I think that looks really, really cool. And then I love how her signature boots are just reversed in color. So now we have a red base color with white trim. So yeah, as far as a chase goes, I mean, I think they did a good job here making it look different as far as paint application goes. I think this is a cool figure. Elite Series 77 SummerSlam Wave, released in 2020. This attire is from SummerSlam 2018, which took place on August 19th. On this night, Charlotte would defeat Ronda and Carmella in a triple threat match to become the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Alright, so this SummerSlam Wave Elite 77 Ronda is awesome. I really, really love it. Now, there are some things I'm not a huge fan of, but overall I think it was a great Elite. You know, it comes with the Raw Women's Championship, it comes with the removable kilt, and it's a very unique looking Ronda. Now, what makes it so unique is, if we look at the face first, is we have that real aggressive face sculpt and scan, but we have the additional eye makeup that she had applied that night. And it looks really, really good and pretty dang accurate. Now, the one thing I will say is the hair sculpt is not accurate. She had a very intricate, unique design in her hair that night, on the sides mostly, and we don't get that here. This is just the same Ryu sculpt that we got a couple times in her previous figures, and that's disappointing because they really almost went all out on this figure. That's just the one thing that I wish they would have done, is given her the proper hair sculpt, because I think that would have really popped with this figure. Now, as far as the attire goes, we have a black sculpted top with rowdy in yellow and red. Now, there's a lot of sculpting going on as far as the straps go and everything else. And as I mentioned, this kilt is removable, so let's take that off and see how easy or hard it is. It's very easy to take off. And the bottoms are very, very cool. They are black. We have a yellow and red design on the side. Rousey on the other side. And then we have her signature boots down there. Now, the one thing I will say is I got a lot of flack when I got this figure, because if you look at her front, you know, the body sculpt is great, and I need to say that. The body sculpt is awesome. It really does demonstrate her physique. I think it's great. But if you look at her back here, her back looks like a modified abdomen. Now, I got attacked when I posted this in a Facebook group. And people are like, you ever seen a girl's back? It's like, yeah, I've seen a lot of women's backs, okay? And this is not normal. This is not normal to have a six-pack in your back. So I was wondering, and this is like a real weird theory, I was wondering if by some chance that was supposed to be an abdomen piece that they just put on the back, because if you look here, we have the seam line here in the center, and yeah, it's just super bizarre. Now, obviously, it does curve out. It's got that lordotic curve to the back, which is a natural curve, but this just doesn't look natural, y'all. It is super, super weird. Super weird. So that's just me. And the thing is, you know, a lot of people are saying, well, they just made it really jacked because it's an action figure. You know, a lot of times in action figures, you make the figures more muscular. But if that's the case, then how come her back is more jacked than her front? So, yeah, that's just a weird theory I have. But getting back to the figure, I think this is a very cool figure. Very unique. And up to this point, definitely one of the best. Elite Series 97, released in 2022. This attire is from the Royal Rumble 2022, which took place on January 29th. On this night, Ronda would make her return to WWE all the way since April 2019, and go on to win the Women's Royal Rumble by eliminating Charlotte Flair, then infamously pointing to the WrestleMania sign. So with Ronda taking a break from the company, starting a family, there was a little break between figures, but the Elite that she got depicting her return is a banger in my opinion. It is one of the most underrated Elites out there. A lot of people just see it, think it's boring, think it's plain, skip over it, but I'm telling you, there's so much detail here, and I think it does an excellent job of depicting Ronda, especially on her return. So, taking a closer look at this figure and why it's so awesome. First off, this jacket is that it was at the time a very new material. It's like a real soft rubber, and it allows for her to pose pretty well with it on. Not perfectly, but she definitely can move a lot more than with the hard plastic that we previously saw with her jacket. Now, when you take that jacket off, which I'm going to just show you that figure with the jacket off because it's not the easiest to take off due to the material, you have an awesome attire. Now, I know it doesn't look like much, right? But if you look close up at it, it's got a lot of wrinkles and folds sculpted in this unique top piece over her top, sculpted on the sports bra looking piece. Midsection is smoothed over so that belly button is covered. And then this overall look is just really cool. And I was just blown away because I would have assumed that this top piece was just going to be painted on. You know, look at the first Dakota Kai Elite. She has kind of a similar type look and it's just painted on. And this is sculpted on. It's a sculpted piece, and it looks so cool. And I think the all-black attire looks awesome, but the words baddest in that font in white just pop and stand out. And I'm glad that they did go with that aggressive, serious face sculpt of the ponytail. I think that works really, really well here. But I absolutely love this Elite. Now, this came out in 2022, so for the 2022 Jillies Award Show, I might have given this figure the most underrated figure of the year because I really thought it was. I think it's an excellent Elite with a lot of little details here when you take a closer look at it. And it's cool that we have the option to display her without the jacket or with the jacket. So yeah, I actually love this figure. Elite Top Picks released in 2023. This attire is from WrestleMania 35, which took place on April 7th, 2019. In this historic first women's WrestleMania main event, Becky Lynch would defeat SmackDown Women's Champion Charlotte Flair and Raw Women's Champion Ronda in a winner-takes-all triple threat match, leaving with both titles. Becky Two Belts was born. So this figure is actually very significant for women's wrestling figures because this is the first time that we ever got a woman included in the Top Picks Elite line. And I think going with Ronda was an excellent, excellent choice. For years, I wanted women included in that Top Picks Elite line. And here we finally got one. And it is an awesome figure. Now, taking a closer look, we have that aggressive sculpt and scan there. We have that ponytail that we've seen quite a bit. The top is white with rowdy and yellow, orange, and red kind of fading. We have a red trim here. We have double jointed elbows that I should have mentioned on her Elite 97 that also had double jointed elbows, which is really cool. Her signature gloves are painted on, but it actually has a little sculpting on the hand. We have these really cool boots, red and white, a lot of cool detail there. And we have this kilt that is removable. Shriek. And then we have black bottoms with the red trim there, which is really, really, really cool. So yeah, I think this figure is an excellent figure. And honestly, with all of Ronda's figures, if you don't have a Ronda figure in your collection, you're watching this video and you're like, I want to add a Ronda figure to my collection, just one. I think this one is the one you should go for. The Ultimate Edition is excellent, but it is too pricey in my opinion. In this figure, this Top Picks Ronda, you can get for a very good price. And I just think it's an awesome figure. And it's super cool that not only do we have her in some pretty iconic ring attire, but she also comes with the Raw Women's Championship. And this is such an important attire. You know, this is such a historic attire, being the first women's WrestleMania main event. And to have that in figure form as Ronda, in the first woman released in the Top Picks line, this figure is historic. It's awesome. You should buy it for sure. Basic Series 140 released in 2023. This attire is from SummerSlam 2022, which took place on July 30th. I was actually at this event. Very special. On this night, Liv Morgan would defeat Ronda Rousey to retain the SmackDown Women's Championship. Alright, so I'm going to cut to the chase. This is the worst Ronda Rousey figure that we are going to see and that you've seen in this video so far. In my opinion, I think it's terrible, and the biggest reason is this new sculpt. It looks so bad. The head looks big. It's all out of proportion. But what really makes this figure and its lack of quality hurt is this depicts SummerSlam 2022, and I was there. I will never forget that night, and I have longed for them to release women's figures in attires from that SummerSlam, and this is the first women's figure that they released in the SummerSlam 2022 attire, and woof. Now I say woof because this new face scan and sculpt, it's the proportions. I honestly think it's mostly the sculpt that's the problem. It's kind of too round, like a pumpkin type deal. It's just weird. It's really weird. It definitely is a bulked up face, and yeah, I can see Ronda in the face, but it doesn't look like Ronda, right? It looks like Ronda if she maybe, had a lot more of a full face, right? Like she's wearing a mask or something. But it's bad. It's terrible, especially compared to her previous figures that most of them had awesome sculpts and scans. And this new sculpt is terrible. And yeah, we have a little makeup detail around the eye, but that doesn't mask what is this horrible sculpt. Ugh. Maybe I'm a little too aggressive in my hate to this sculpt because I wanted this figure to be awesome. Well, I wanted it in elite form, but I was like, oh, they're making her in her SummerSlam attire. I was at that SummerSlam that I got this figure, and I'm like, what is that? Who is that? Anyway, the body sculpt's fine. We saw it plenty of times previously in this video, and the attire is from her SummerSlam look. We have Baddest in almost like a video game pixelated type font in a metallic gold, and the bottoms have lightning bolts all over, again kind of pixelated with metallic gold, and then just black boots, and her gloves are just a plain black. So yeah, unfortunately this is definitely a Ronda figure that y'all should pass on. I only have it, actually I have two, because I was at SummerSlam, but yeah, really disappointing. Championship Showdown 2-Pack Series 16 with Liv Morgan, released in 2024. This attire is from the 2022 Extreme Rules Premium Live event, which took place on October 8th. On this night, Ronda would defeat Liv to become the new SmackDown Women's Champion. Alright, so this was the most recent Ronda released, and as far as I know, the last Ronda Rousey WWE figure we are going to get, unless she makes a return at some point, but this is all we have, and this is the last one, and I think it went out on a decent note. So the sculpt is the same as that previous figure that I just did not like, but what's different is I don't know. They did a way better job with the makeup application, so the lines around her eyes are a lot more darker, and sure, she had different eye makeup on the nights, but something about this Showdown 2-Pack sculpt doesn't look half bad. It does look a little too bulky, in my opinion. The sculpt is too bulky. But I think the scan itself looks way better. I think it's a pretty solid likeness there. Is it better than her previous sculpts and scans? Heck to the no, but it's better than 140, and it's simply because they put more detail in the eyes there. So looking at the attire, it's a very unique attire, actually. It really does stand out on the shelf. It is all painted on with very little sculpting just between the chest, but we have it painted pretty intricately all over. Really cool design here. We have the little openings there painted on, which is cool, and it says submit all over it. Now, another thing that I can't stand about this figure is we have the copyright trademark stamp sculpted on the back. Now, this has also been on the back of BFAB and Tiffany Stratton, and I'm hoping it's just a short run thing. It's not going to last, because that really is an eyesore if you're displaying it. Or imagine figure photography and we have the trademark stamp on the back. That just looks bad. But yeah, it's not the best figure, but I will say it's a decent figure to go out on. Alright, so this part of my figure history videos, usually I rank them from my least favorite all the way down to my favorite. I'm not doing that today because I just wanted to celebrate all of her figures and kind of make a video that's a thank you to Ronda and what she brought to the women's division. And I know a lot of people out there do not like Ronda, and that is totally cool with me. I totally understand. But me, from my perspective, I'm just grateful for her and how she kind of elevated the women's division in certain aspects, whether it be eyes from the UFC or the entertainment world coming over to the WWE, or them making a pay-per-view of all women, Evolution. You know, I think she had a big part of that. So, thank you, Ronda. Now, with that being said, thanks for stopping by LumberJillville. Women's wrestling lives here. For a first look at all future women's wrestling figure reviews, make sure to hit subscribe right below the logo and become an official resident of LJV today. Also, head on over to ringsidecollectibles.com and use coupon code LJV at checkout to save 10% on your next order of women's wrestling figures. Thanks for watching, and have a great night, y'all.